My best bud and I got transported into a novel. He's the simp for the vicious second female lead. I'm the stand-in for the Yandere villainess's unforgettable first love. Everyone thinks we're head over heels for them, but behind the scenes, we're just milking them for all they're worth, while we were living it up. The charming male lead made his grand entrance. One night, my best bud knocked on my door. I've saved up enough. What about you? I replied. Not enough yet, but I can spend yours first. Chapter 1. Anna suddenly came back while David was showing me his new computer, complete with the latest 4090 GPU. Seeing Anna's red convertible, a car that was unmistakably hers, pull into the driveway, David quickly pushed me. Quick, go hide. I scrambled into the closet like some caught cheater. No sooner had I hidden than Anna pushed open the door and walked in. Just moments before, David had been gloating about his wealth, but now he wore a face of fury, as if he were devastated. When he heard Anna enter, David, with a resentful expression, snapped through gritted teeth. So you still remember where home is? Anna walked up to David with a frosty expression, staring straight into his eyes, completely ignoring his question. Instead, she said, Makoto is missing. David, I told you, Makoto is just a close friend. The feud between the Lin and Fu families is between us. Leave unrelated people out of it. David widened his eyes in feigned disbelief. You think I kidnapped him? Anna closed her eyes for a moment. Makoto disappeared after he called you. You're the prime suspect. Right at that moment, the phone rang. Anna answered it, glanced at David, then said hastily, Okay, I'll be right there. She turned to leave. David lunged forward, grabbing her hand. His brow furrowed, and his cheeks quivered slightly, embodying the perfect image of a desperate simp, confused after being misunderstood by his goddess. He begged, Anna, it really wasn't me. But Anna's gaze was as cold as ice. It better not be. But until everything is cleared up, I won't see you again. David turned his head, and I watched as he pinched his thigh hard. In the next instant, tears streamed down his face. He said, Can you leave tomorrow? His eyes were red, and the words he spoke made my skin crawl. Today is our anniversary. Could you stay with me? Even just for tonight? I shuddered. How could he say something so disgusting? Anna hesitated for 2 seconds before pulling her hand free. Sorry, the police have a lead on Makoto. I have to go. The sound of the door closing echoed, and David called out in a broken voice, Anna, come back. Seeing him like this, I was speechless. Then he paused for a couple of seconds, listening as Anna's footsteps faded. Damn, that bitch finally left, he said. David wiped his tears, then let me out of the closet. Man, that was an impressive performance, I said, genuinely impressed. David rolled his eyes. Cut the crap, we've got a problem. He paused. The male lead has shown up, and he's starting to stir things up. My girl is already heading down her storyline. Yours probably isn't far behind. So, you're saying, we need to run, David said firmly. If we don't, we'll make money, but we might not live to spend it. Chapter 2. David and I were both transported into this book. The good news is, it's a strong female lead romance, so we can just take it easy. Sure, we have to act like we're hopelessly in love most of the time, but hey, making money is nothing to be ashamed of. The bad news, though, is that neither of us are the male lead. David is Anna's simp, marrying her through a family alliance. 3 years of marriage, and Anna still won't even let him touch her. As for me, I'm the stand-in for Willow, the Yandere villainess's first love. She's kept me locked in a villa for 3 years because I resemble the unforgettable love of her youth. David and I didn't really have much to complain about regarding our roles. After all, Lin's father has deep political ties. No one dares cross him, and although Willow's background wasn't fully explained in the book, it's unclear how she went from being an unknown girl to her current position. But she has influence both above and below the law. She's the quintessential femme fatale. The one thing they have in common, money. Lots of it. For the past 3 years, David and I have been playing the roles of heartbroken lovers in public while secretly spending money like there's no tomorrow. But now things are different. The male lead, Makoto, has returned. According to the storyline, David's wife Anna is Makoto's most devoted admirer, and my girlfriend Willow, Makoto is her unforgettable first love, and she'd do anything for him, even trade her life for his happiness. If we don't leave now, we won't get another chance, David said. Makoto isn't someone to mess with. He called me on purpose, then disappeared, making Anna think I kidnapped him. Anna's one thing, she's always cold to me, but she can't really do anything. But Willow, that crazy Yandere would do anything. I shivered. Exactly. I remember when Willow took me to her bar once. One girl pretended to trip and fell into my lap, and Willow called security to break her legs on the spot. I'm just a stand-in, and she's already this crazy. If she really thought I hurt her precious Makoto, even 9 lives wouldn't be enough for me. We have to leave. Hurting my feelings is one thing, but threatening my life? Absolutely not. David saw I had made up my mind. Have you saved up enough? He asked. I shook my head. No, but I know you have. So I'm going to spend yours. David looked exasperated. He said, spending my wife's money to support my bro. How do you come up with such twisted ideas? He continued, but we did swear an oath, didn't we, to share our fortunes and face hardships together. He nodded tearfully, and I put down the machete I'd been holding. Once we were sure we had enough money, we started planning our escape. After discussing all our options, only one plan seemed viable. We had to fake our deaths. After 3 years of marriage, David and I knew too much dirt on both the political world and the criminal underworld. If we didn't die, even if Anna and Willow let it slide, there were plenty of other eyes on us in North City. Who's going to die first? I asked David. He replied, I go first, you follow. Why not me first? I want to die first, I said, feeling annoyed. Everyone knows the one who dies later has to clean up the mess for the one who dies first. David said, rock, paper, scissors. I said, that's too boring. He retorted, then come up with something less boring. I said, you know about the slapping contest abroad? He nodded, looking puzzled. I said, all right then, I'll slap you 3 times, and you slap me 3 times. Whoever can't take it loses. David agreed. The next second, before he could react, I slapped him 3 times in quick succession. David's face turned bright red. He clenched his fists and glared at me, his cheeks puffed out, his temples throbbing, veins bulging in his arms, a picture of someone about to tear me apart. I waved dismissively. You win. And so, David smugly went to prepare for his death. I went home to pack my things. The most valuable items I had were all hidden in the basement. But to my surprise, as soon as I entered the basement, someone covered my eyes. Willow's cold, slender hands were over my eyes. She tiptoed and whispered in my ear, where were you, darling? Were you sneaking off somewhere? There was a faint scent of blood on her. Maybe she had just killed someone. Even after 3 years, I was still instinctively a little afraid of Willow. This Yandere. My voice trembled slightly. I went to buy you a gift. I opened my hand, revealing a Van Cleef Arpels clover bracelet. It wasn't anything too expensive, but Willow seemed happy. She carefully put it on, smiling as she walked past me to sit at the piano. What would you like to hear today? She asked. I knew better than to answer anything but, I love everything you play. The book mentioned very little about Willow's past. There were just a few lines about her being locked away somewhere. Willow had been tortured and electrocuted daily. She tried countless times to end her life, until she found a garden full of clovers, with an abandoned piano in it. She played the piano there every day, and a boy would come listen from beyond the wall. That boy was Makoto. When I came into Willow's life, she planted a garden full of clovers for me. She made me wear a white shirt and sit by her side while she played the piano. Today, Willow's music sounded agitated. Halfway through, she suddenly stopped, kicked off her shoes, and pushed her feet into my lap. I knew exactly what she wanted. I held her calf, my hand moving upwards. In the next moment, she was trembling, leaning against the piano, the discordant notes drowning out her murmurs. I kissed Willow, and she kissed me back fiercely, her kisses wild and unrestrained, her breath as chaotic as her thoughts. She said, don't leave me like that again, I answered half-heartedly. It clearly wasn't enough to reassure her. Willow tore at my shirt, and I fumbled with hers. In the confusion, we became entwined. I have to admit, I'm a bit luckier than David. David only gets to spend money. I get a richer experience, but Willow must never know that. Chapter 3. Seeing her so moved, I held her tightly. I kissed her cheek, but suddenly felt it was wet. She was crying. For a moment, I felt a pang of doubt. Willow, do you love me? I asked. The next second, her face froze, reverting to that distant expression. For 3 years, Willow had given me everything I wanted, but when it came to marriage, neither of us had ever mentioned it. I was just a stand-in. Besides looks, a stand-in's most important quality was knowing their place. It was nice to call it boyfriend and girlfriend, but to put it bluntly, I was just a bed partner. Asking if she loved me clearly showed a lack of awareness. Willow bit her lip, saying nothing. Her silence was answer enough, but today was different, so I pressed on. Willow, do you love me, or the person I'm standing in for? Willow stood up, got dressed. She was about to leave, and I sneered. Is it that you can't answer, or you won't? Willow stopped. She turned back, her expression cold, as if the person who had just been passionately entwined with me wasn't her. George, you've crossed the line. Chapter 4. For the past 3 years, I've been careful to maintain boundaries. Like I always say, making money is nothing to be ashamed of. But today, I just couldn't let it go. After she left, I called her over 40 times. She finally blocked me after refusing to answer. I chuckled. Perfect. Willow took the bait. At least for the next 3 days, she wouldn't answer my calls or come to the villa to check on me. This meant our escape plan had a much better chance of succeeding. I quickly packed my valuables and secretly moved them to a safe place. Late at night, David came to find me. Are you ready yet? I said. I'm ready, David. Not trusting me. Checked everything over again. All right. He nodded in satisfaction. Now I can go die. Chapter 5. A lot happened that day. First, Anna's people found an unconscious Makoto in an abandoned building. Makoto was holding a cufflink in his hand. Anna's eyes widened as soon as she saw it. She recognized that cufflink. A year ago, for their wedding anniversary, David gave her a Chinese gown, painstakingly hand-embroidered by a master over 3 years. The dress was covered in intricate Sioux embroidery, but all the pearls were fake because David had sold the real ones. That day, Anna had given David an antique ivory cufflink. Before noon, David had somehow swapped it for a cheap fake, clearly to sell the original, and the cufflink in Makoto's hand was made of fake ivory, identical to the one she had given David. Miss Lin. Could it really have been Mr. Fu who did this? Anna's assistant murmured beside her. Everyone knew the marriage between the two families was just a business arrangement, but David was madly in love with Anna, to the point of obsession. Once a man's jealousy flares up, it's not easily extinguished. It was obvious David wanted to kill Makoto out of jealousy over Anna's affection for him. Anna closed her eyes tightly and sighed. Let's go to the hospital. On the way, Makoto woke up. When he saw that Anna had saved him, he lowered his head in pain, covering his face with his hands. Anna, he said, you shouldn't have come. We shouldn't see each other again. Anna spoke softly. Makoto, who did this to you? Who kidnapped you? Makoto hesitated, then shook his head. No, I can't say. His expression showed he was conflicted. Mr. Lin is a good man, highly respected after decades in politics. If this misunderstanding between Mr. Fu and me affects his reputation, I couldn't repay the debt even with my life. Anna clenched the hem of her dress. It was David. It really was David. At first, Anna still held onto a sliver of hope. She hoped David wasn't behind this, but now, that hope was shattered. Makoto studied Anna's expression and continued. Miss Lin, let's settle this between ourselves. He may just love you too much, and his possessiveness is out of control. At that moment, the phone rang. Already overwhelmed, Anna snapped. Hello, calling now. Are you out of your mind? Chapter 6. I was startled by the anger in Anna's voice, but I still asked, is this Anna? I continued anxiously. I'm David's friend. David is in the hospital, and he's in bad shape. Can you come quickly? There was a pause. What is he trying to pull now? Anna asked, sounding frustrated. I grew more desperate. What are you talking about? David was in a car accident, and it's very serious. Anna remained cold. Tell him to knock it off. Every time he wants something from me, he pretends to be sick. She added, tell him to stop milking one sheep dry. If he's hurt, go see a doctor. If he's out of money, take out a personal loan. And if he causes trouble for me to fix, what's the point of always running away? Anna, I shouted, but it was no use. The call ended. Chapter 7. Anna tossed her phone aside, remaining silent for a long time. She fumed, recalling all the times David had taken advantage of her. Like the time David said he missed her so much he couldn't sleep, caught a cold, and needed her to cover his medical expenses, thousands of dollars, to get every possible test done, only to tell her the doctor advised him to drink more hot water. Or the time David claimed the anniversary gift he got for me was stolen. He said he chased the thief for 20 streets, hurting his back, and needed an expensive massage, costing nearly $19,000. Anna's first thought was that he must have done something shady, and checking his messages, she found he'd bought a Dragon Slayer sword in a game for that same amount. Makoto sighed and asked, did something happen to Mr. Fu? Should we check on him first? I'm fine. Anna shook her head irritably. Forget him. Makoto tried to console her. Mr. Fu must have his reasons. Can't the two of you sit down and talk things through? There's no problem that can't be solved. The more Makoto spoke, the more annoyed Anna felt. Makoto, don't worry, she said. If he's really done something illegal, I won't let him off just because he's my husband. Makoto nodded, visibly moved. Anna, you're amazing. Miss Lin, are we heading to B hospital? The driver asked. Anna replied coldly, no, take us to A Life. Makoto noticed that Anna was deliberately avoiding David. David was at B hospital, and Anna would rather go to a different hospital than see him. He lowered his head, smiling silently. Anna took Makoto to A Life hospital. After an examination, the doctor said Makoto had some minor injuries but nothing serious. However, he seemed traumatized, waking up startled after falling asleep. Makoto, with his gentle demeanor, said to Anna, don't worry about me. I'm fine. I understand him, and you don't need to stay because of guilt. He is who he is, and you are you. I don't blame you. Anna had been considering visiting David, but after hearing Makoto's words, she decided to stay. It took 2 days for Makoto to fully recover. When Anna finally left the hospital, she checked her phone. She expected dozens of missed calls and messages from David, but there was nothing. A sense of unease crept over her, something she had never felt before. Anna tried to shake off the feeling, but even after staying at home for a while, she felt increasingly anxious. Finally, She couldn't hold back any longer and called me. "Where's David?" Anna asked. I stayed silent for a long time. "I know you're David's friend," Anna said, her patience waning. "Put David on the phone." "David is dead," I said softly. There was a long silence on the other end. After a moment, I heard Anna scoff. "Stop playing games," she said. She added, "Tell David I've calmed Makoto down. He's agreed not to call the police or tell anyone about this. There's no need to hide anymore. Tell him to answer my call." I didn't say anything more, just gave her an address. "If you want to see him that badly, come find him here." Chapter 8. It was 11 o'clock at night. Anna found me in the morning hall. I sat there in a daze. Hearing Anna's footsteps, I mechanically turned my head. "You're here." Anna didn't say anything. She looked down at what I was holding. It was an urn. "Is this?" I slowly lowered my head, stroking the urn. "Didn't I tell you? He was in a car accident." I spoke with no expression. Only my eyes reddened. "If you had come right after I called, you could have seen him one last time. Now, it's all too late." Anna's hands began to tremble. I interrupted her. "I know. You were just suspicious that he kidnapped Makoto. It doesn't matter. Go ahead and investigate. But whatever you find, it has nothing to do with David anymore." I picked up the urn, turned, and brushed past Anna. She called after me. "Wait, he was my husband." I stopped. "You want me to give you his ashes, don't you?" I laughed maniacally, laughed until I lost control. The next second, large tears rolled down, and I said, "That's impossible, Anna. While David was alive, it was his love for you that kept him by your side. Now that he's dead, he can finally stop loving you. I'm taking him away, giving him freedom." I looked at Anna's face, unable to suppress my anger. "Please don't ever call him your husband again. After all, you were never worthy of being his wife." Chapter 9. I took the urn and left. There was no way I would give it to Anna, because inside, David had only carelessly put in a few boxes of powdered milk. I even had to urgently look it up online and tell him that ashes weren't powdery, so he quickly threw in some leftover small bones. I walked to the riverbank and scattered the powdered milk and ribs into the river. "Brother, you're free now." I choked up as I spoke. I knew Anna was watching my back. After scattering the ashes, I got into my car and drove away. From start to finish, I never gave Anna another glance. By now, Willow should be looking for me. She punished me for 3 days, and it should be just about time. But Willow didn't come. I knew it was because Makoto had gone to her. After David's death, Anna ignored Makoto. Knowing Makoto, he would definitely move on to his next target immediately. He would go to Willow, to reunite with her. The little boy outside the clover garden finally reunited with his mother. How could Willow still care about a fake like me? I drove to the Fu Bridge. Sitting at the edge, I went over the things I left in the villa. A 4-leaf clover bracelet, the last gift I gave Willow. A final letter, telling Willow I loved her. A forged depression diagnosis, to explain the cause of my death. After reviewing everything, I called Willow. She answered, and just as she said, "Hello," I heard Makoto next to her. "Willow, I haven't finished yet." Ignoring Makoto's voice, I calmly began my performance. "Willow, don't worry. I'm not calling to cling to you. I just wanted to say thank you. When I first came to this city, I was all alone. Knew no one. You gave me a home, made me feel loved, and that was enough for me. I have no regrets in my life." Willow's voice changed slightly. She said, "George, where are you?" I calmly replied, "I'm also happy that there will be someone to love you for me. You always stay out drinking with your girlfriends until dawn, and you never listen when I try to stop you. I can't pick you up anymore, so don't call the wrong person. And the old injury on your arm, make sure you get it checked regularly. George, where are you? I'm coming to get you." It was the first time I heard Willow lose control. I smiled as the wind rushed in. "Willow, goodbye." I tossed the phone into the river and jumped. Chapter 10. The river water filled my throat. The next second, the buoyancy layer in my clothes activated. My back floated up, and I bit down on the oxygen tube of a specially made mini scuba. I drifted along with the Fu River. After about an hour, I bumped into a kayak. Looking up, I saw David paddling. "Finally, you're here," David panted. "Get up here and help row. Do you want to kill me?" I quickly climbed onto the kayak, and just like that, David and I each took an oar, me on the right, him on the left, and we rowed our little friendship boat away from North City. Chapter 11. It wasn't until much later that we found out, while we were paddling away that night, North City was in turmoil. Once Anna regained her senses, she led people to search for me frantically. I was the only one with David when he died. Anna wanted to know if David had left any last words for her, if he had died hating her. At the riverbank, Anna ran into Willow, who was also frantically searching for me. Over the past few years, Anna had seen Willow at various events, big and small, but she had never seen Willow like this. Willow sat by the river, her expression seemingly calm, yet on the verge of madness. Rescue boats went back and forth on the river. Someone approached Willow, trembling. Willow. Willow spoke, her voice barely a whisper, hoarse and broken. Did you find the body? No, nothing. Willow stood up and slapped the person. Then keep looking, Anna called out. Willow. Willow didn't even lift her eyelids, as if she hadn't heard. Anna took a deep breath. Willow, I understand how you feel right now, but we're too close to the estuary. It's been 7 hours. The body may never be found. Willow glared at Anna, tears filling her bloodshot eyes. Anna's bodyguards were startled, quickly stepping forward to protect Anna. For a moment, they thought Willow might actually hit Anna. This woman, whose background was always a mystery, might really be crazy enough to slap her. But Willow didn't hit Anna. She just stared at Anna, speaking each word slowly. Anna, what do you mean you understand how I feel? Your husband is dead. My George is not. Anna's face turned pale. George jumped into the river on Lynn's territory. Willow stood up, her disheveled hair flying in the wind. If you can't find him, I'll make sure you die. Anna's bodyguards turned ashen. Willow was different from Anna. Anna came from a political family, always dignified and graceful, with a sense of nobility. Willow, on the other hand, was like a venomous snake, always ready to strike. If Willow wanted someone dead, she wouldn't stop until she achieved it, even if it meant mutual destruction. Anna hurriedly called her assistant over. Deploy our boats. Search the river. That night, the riverbank was ablaze with light. Boats searched the Fu River up and down, but they found neither the living nor the dead. Anna eventually left, saying her father demanded an explanation. Willow remained by the river, staring blankly. She murmured, George, you're not dead, are you? Chapter 12. Whatever reactions Willow and Anna had, they no longer mattered to David and me. 1,000 miles away in South City, there were 2 carefree and wealthy young men living their best lives. Happy days always pass quickly, and in the blink of an eye, we had already been in South City for 3 years. At this moment, David and I were enjoying life in a private room at a nightclub. A group of young models surrounded us, each one beautiful and lively, able to sing and dance. Anyone who didn't know better might have thought they were watching a girl group audition. David said, look at that one. Doesn't she look a bit like Willow? I shivered slightly and rolled my eyes. Like hell she does. I think that one looks more like Anna. After the joke, a dark cloud passed over my heart. Over these 3 years, there was no news from Willow at all. However, news about Anna came through from time to time. She knelt before the Fu family at David's funeral to ask for forgiveness. She set up a charity fund in David's name. After David left, Anna developed insomnia and eventually turned to drinking, often ending up in an ambulance. But Willow, not a single word. I should have felt happy. This showed that I was indeed insignificant to her, just a substitute who, once gone, was of no importance. But for some reason, there was always an uneasy string in my heart that stayed taut. Fortunately, the 2 young models beside me were quite perceptive. They immediately leaned in from both sides, their thighs pressing tightly against mine. Big brother, why don't you touch our legs and see which one feels better? They said. I became interested. All right, I'll be completely fair and unbiased. On the other side, David rolled his eyes at me. Low class. He then turned to the young models and said, come, hold out your hands. I'll read your palms. I said, superstitious. Over these past 3 years, the empty life of endless wealth had made David fascinated with mysticism, astrology, tarot, palm reading. There was nothing he hadn't dabbled in. The one closest to David was a young woman with an innocent look. David rarely let the same woman stay by his side for more than 3 days, but this girl had been around him for 3 whole months. Her name was Mary, and she was a top student at a nearby university. Rumor had it that her father had gone bankrupt and was deeply in debt, so she came here to drink with people to pay her tuition. Mary was beautiful, with clear and pure features, always wearing a white dress. She did resemble a younger version of Anna a bit, but Mary was different from Anna. When David took her hand and offered to read her palm, Mary's face flushed instantly. She dared not look at David, her pale skin turning pink. Big brother, Mary said softly, I need your help with something. Could you help me out? David said, are you short on money? No, Mary quickly replied, lowering her head and pointing outside the nightclub where a group of young men sat. Mary said that one of the boys, a rich second generation from her school, had been pursuing her relentlessly. She didn't want to accept and wanted to focus on her studies, but the boy wouldn't believe her and waited at the nightclub every day for her to finish work. Mary asked David if he could pretend to be her boyfriend to make the boy give up. David said, no problem. He stood up, confidently linking his arm with Mary's. Mary's face turned even redder. They walked towards the rich kid together. At first, the interaction seemed normal, but soon, for some reason, things started to escalate. The rich kid, probably drunk, began yelling, pointing at David as he shouted to Mary, how could he be serious about you? A guy like him only wants to play with your feelings. I'm the one who truly loves you. It's well known that people love to watch drama. Even the DJ stopped spinning records to join the crowd in watching. Originally, I was sipping my drink with my arms crossed, thoroughly enjoying the show from afar. But suddenly, a chill ran down my spine. I couldn't say exactly what I had noticed, it was more like an eerie feeling. I quickly grabbed both mine and David's wallets and rushed towards him. David was still immersed in his role, holding tightly onto Mary's hand. He said to the boy, "Believe it or not, I'm serious about Mary. I truly love her and want to marry her." After he said that, David suddenly froze. His back stiffened, vertebra by vertebra. In the flickering lights, he saw a figure in the distance staring at him without blinking. The world seemed to fall silent. Anna stood in the shadows. Every word David had just said had reached her ears. She looked at David and Mary's hands clasped together, her eyes as cold as ice. "Want to get married?" Anna laughed, her voice like shattered ice. "David, have you even finalized your last marriage yet?" As she spoke, the bodyguards from the Lin family had already started to move. They silently slipped through the crowd, closing in on David. Luckily, I had reached David's side by then. "What are you standing there for?" I pulled David. "Run." Glasses toppled, spilling drinks everywhere. David and I knocked over 4 tables, 3 waiters carrying trays, and 2 carts as we sprinted forward. The Gu family bodyguards chased us relentlessly, getting closer and closer. We rushed into the underground parking garage. "Have you been drinking?" I asked David. "No, didn't get the chance," David replied. "What about you?" "Neither did I." "Good. No one's driving drunk." I swiftly pulled out his car keys, then tossed my own keys to him. "Let's split up." David understood what I was doing. He would take my car, and I would take his. I would use myself as a decoy for her. "George, no time for that. Go." There was no time left. I jumped into David's car and slammed on the gas. If Anna could find David, the Lin family must have investigated him beforehand. David and I drove out at the same time, and the Lin family would definitely chase the car registered under David's name. Sure enough, I hadn't driven far before I saw pursuers in my rearview mirror. At that moment, a bright red streak of light tore through the night sky, overtaking the pursuers. As the figure got closer, I saw it was a female rider, driving a red Ducati motorcycle like an arrow in the wind, closing in quickly. From this close distance, I could see her black leather outfit tightly clung to her body, outlining her long legs and graceful back. A lock of her hair peeked out from under her helmet, flowing in the wind, radiating an aura of madness. The rider stuck to my car's tail like glue, the wheels spinning so fast they seemed ready to burst into flames. Where did Anna find a daredevil like this? The way she rode was a complete disregard for her life. Suddenly, my heart seemed to skip a beat. From what I knew of Anna, she wasn't this reckless. There was only one person who could be this crazy: Willow. Seeing the figure on the motorcycle, I knew there was no mistaking it. I stomped on the gas, but I had already reached the maximum speed limit. Willow's motorcycle surged ahead, skidding to a stop as if to cut me off, or perhaps to go down with me. I had no choice but to slam on the brakes. The car stopped just millimeters away from Willow. My head slammed forward, the airbag deployed, and I passed out. The last thing I remembered was Willow opening the car door and pulling me out. She whispered in my ear, "George, you really couldn't bring yourself to hit me, could you?" I couldn't answer her before I fell into an endless darkness. Chapter 13. I had a dream. In the dream, it was the first time I met Willow. Back then, I had just crossed into this world and was living in poverty, working in a pharmacy to earn money for my tuition. Willow walked into the pharmacy to buy medicine, her thighs and arms covered in bloody scratches. Many customers looked at her with strange expressions and quickly left the store. Only I stood behind the counter, staring at her in a daze. Willow lifted her eyelids slightly. "Why aren't you getting the medicine? Do you find me disgusting too?" I said. "You're hurt." I helped Willow bandage her wounds. She gave off a vibe that kept people at a distance, but when she sat quietly, she seemed very obedient. I clumsily finished wrapping her wounds, handed her the medicine she wanted, and said, "All done." I got up to leave, but Willow suddenly grabbed my wrist. She looked at me and asked, "How much do you make working here for a month?" I told her a number. Willow immediately offered almost 100 times that amount. I was stunned. "For that much money, what do you need me to do?" Willow looked at my dumbfounded face, then suddenly burst into laughter. "To date me, are you willing?" I looked at her incredibly beautiful face under the light and nodded, thinking, why not? It's just earning money, nothing shameful about it. In the 3 years that followed, Willow's mood swung unpredictably. Sometimes she would suddenly fall into deep despair, even resorting to self-harm, and other times she would act like a spoiled kitten, sticking to me as much as possible. Sometimes, without any reason, she'd fly into a rage. One second she was happily eating the food I'd served her, and the next, she was sweeping everything off the table. She was like a madwoman, but only I knew how to calm her down. She remembered almost all my habits and knew exactly how to manipulate me. I loved staying up late to play games or watch sports. Whenever I stayed up, she stayed up with me. Whenever I was stressed, I'd smoke uncontrollably, and when I did, she'd copy me. So I quit smoking, and I stopped staying up late. On my birthday, she rented an entire island for a party, inviting all my friends under my name. She arranged for private planes to pick them up and drop them off, making everyone I knew think I was someone important. The only regret was that she couldn't openly be by my side. On her birthday, I used all the money I had saved to rent out an amusement park and set off fireworks all night. Under the fireworks, we kissed passionately. She was moved to tears and said, "George, promise me you'll always stay by my side." The fireworks faded from the night sky. I woke up, the cold dampness of the air telling me I was in a basement. My hands were tied, and I instinctively struggled. After just one attempt, someone pinned me down from behind. "George, you can't escape." Willow took out a rope and expertly tied a knot around my hands. She wore a black dress, and on her wrist was a 4-leaf clover bracelet. Such a cheap accessory seemed out of place with her high-end couture, but I recognized it. It was the last gift I had given Willow. Willow adjusted the knot and took some ointment from the side. "You're hurt. You need to apply medicine," she said. She tied me up tightly, her slender fingers brushing against my knee. After 3 years, Willow knew exactly how to make me feel pleasure. I trembled stiffly, my clothes soaked with sweat. She sat on my lap, gently rubbing her cheek against mine. Just like countless times in the past, when the fireworks had faded, I let out a long sigh. She asked, "Why are you sighing?" I said, "Willow, can you let me go first? I need to save David." I didn't know if David had escaped. In the worst-case scenario, he could have fallen into the Lin family's hands. Willow spoke quietly. "What did you say?" "I didn't hear you," I said. "Can you let me go?" Before I could finish, Willow silenced me with a kiss. Her kiss was intense, her nails digging into my back as if desperately trying to take something that never belonged to her. I felt extremely uncomfortable and struggled with all my might. Pushing her off, she looked at me, bewildered, like an abandoned cat. "Pitiful," she said. "George, you've changed. You used to be so gentle. You never treated me like this." I sneered. "Willow, this trick works on them, not on me." She suddenly laughed too and said, "All right, no matter how you've changed, I like you however you are." Willow imprisoned me. There were no clocks in the basement, so I didn't know how many days had passed. All I knew was that I had started refusing to eat or drink. When Willow returned, I was already very weak. She had the bodyguards hold my head and force-feed me nutritional supplements, but within minutes, I would throw up whatever they fed me. Willow was furious. She untied me, grabbing my shoulders harshly and saying, "Do you hate me that much?" Days without food or water left me too weak to resist Willow. I mechanically repeated, "Let me go. I need to save David." Willow let go of me. "If you eat, I'll take you to see David." I suddenly lifted my head, hope igniting in my eyes. "You know where David is?" Willow casually helped me change clothes. "Yes, he's about to die." David was about to die. Her words struck me like lightning, leaving me frozen in place. David was my childhood friend, the only confidant I had in this world. If he died, I would truly be alone in this world. I began to shout, struggling desperately despite my weakness. Willow said, "Don't move. I'll take you to see David." Chapter 14. In Willow's car, I learned what had happened. That day, with my help, David managed to escape, but it wasn't a successful getaway, because Anna had Mary taken away. When Willow took me to the seaside, Mary was tied up and suspended from a crane, hanging high over the ocean. If the crane let go, she would fall straight into the roaring sea. Anna used this method to force David to come out. David showed up. At this moment, he was standing on the edge of a cliff, just one step away from falling into the sea. Compared to Anna's madness, David appeared calm. He said, "Go ahead, drop her. If she falls, I'll jump right after her." Anna stood several dozen meters away from David. She wanted to approach him, but every step she took, David took a step back, with the sea right behind him. Anna didn't dare to move any closer. She stood still, silent for a long time. "Are you serious? Do you love her that much?" Anna was referring to Mary. David said nothing. Anna remained silent for a long time. She seemed to have many things she wanted to say, but in the end, she only said one thing. "Makoto is dead." David's gaze remained calm. In fact, both he and I already knew this. After we left North City, Makoto also disappeared. It was Willow who had locked Makoto up. Willow used her most skilled interrogation methods, and Makoto couldn't withstand it at all. In less than half an hour, he broke down in tears, admitting that the kidnapping incident was orchestrated by himself. "She is my daughter, and she should always be my loyal simp. Even if she marries someone else, her heart should belong only to me." perhaps having lost his sanity at the end. Makoto shouted. Willow didn't quite understand and couldn't be bothered to listen. She had the surrounding evidence collected, packaged it with Makoto's confession, and made 2 copies. One was sent to Anna, and the other to the Fu family. This act directly severed the relationship between the 2 families. The Fu family, upon learning that Anna had caused David's death over a man, immediately terminated all cooperation with the Gu family. However, Anna couldn't even care about that. She hated herself more than anyone else. Among all human emotions, regret is the most terrifying. Regret can evolve into any kind of feeling, rage, hatred. At this critical moment, Willow handed Makoto over to Anna. She said, "Killing him would dirty my hands, so I'm giving him to you." Chapter 15. Willow had told me all of this while we were in the basement. David and I reacted almost identically. No reaction. When Anna saw David's silence, she anxiously whispered, "Makoto is dead. There will never be anyone standing between us again. So, will you come back with me?" David laughed. He sat down at the edge of the cliff. The fierce sea breeze made his clothes cling tightly to his body, but David sat upright, like a steadfast pine at the edge of the cliff. Without the slightest hesitation, David spoke. No. The wind howled between them, and the distance of a dozen meters felt like an insurmountable chasm. Perhaps the wind was too strong, and Anna's eyes reddened. The once proud Anna had softened. She said, "David, I know I wronged you. Would you rather die than forgive me?" David lifted his eyes. His gaze was calm. "Anna, there's nothing between us that needs forgiveness. We were married for 3 years. I don't know about you, but I got what I wanted, and in that sense, I should thank you." David's tone was as polite as if he were speaking to a stranger. Tears suddenly streamed down Anna's face. She said, "Makoto said something to me before he died. He said you and she were the same kind of person. So, those 3 years were all a lie, weren't they?" A question out of nowhere, but David understood. Anna was asking if he had ever truly loved her, if it had all just been a performance, a deception. The word "yes" was on David's lips several times, but he couldn't bring himself to say it. In the end, he laughed, his laughter fading in the wind. "How could that be, Anna? I'm no professional actor. If I acted so well, it was because I really loved you." Anna's expression changed in an instant. Her face was as pale as porcelain, as if it might shatter at any moment. David smiled, smoothing his clothes, his eyes carrying a nostalgic light. "When I first came here, it was at a ball. The moment I arrived, everyone was urging me to ask you to dance. I didn't know anything. I was a poor kid, had never been to a ball, let alone danced. Everyone was waiting for me to embarrass myself." David looked at Anna. "But you reached out to me and agreed to dance with me. I'll always remember your sweet smile and lively eyes, even though I stepped on your feet multiple times. Every man there envied me that day." David brushed a hand over his face, still smiling. "So, when I found out you were going to be my wife, I was really happy. I told myself, it doesn't matter if you don't love me. I can love you more as long as you don't leave. I'll stay with you forever." Anna's body swayed in the sea wind. If not for the bodyguards holding her up, she looked as if she would collapse any moment. David didn't look at Anna. He looked out at the boundless sea, his voice gentle. "Anna, do you know, George is my best brother. We agreed to leave together, but after he told you I was in an accident, I still, pathetically, had a fleeting thought." David turned to look at Anna, a trace of moisture at the corner of his eye, as if tears had been wiped away. "I thought, if you heard I was in the hospital and came running to me immediately, then I wouldn't leave. I'd give all the money I prepared to George, and stay to be with you." Blood trickled from the corner of Anna's mouth. There had always been rumors that she had stomach cancer, but they had never been confirmed. David didn't see it. He looked up at Mary, still suspended by the crane. "So, I won't be with you. It's not because of Makoto or Mary. Killing her today won't change anything, because I don't love her. I simply don't love you anymore." This was the final verdict. After hearing this, Anna seemed to be drained of her soul. She turned around and slowly walked away. Her shirt flapped emptily in the sea breeze. The bodyguards followed her. Blood welled up in Anna's mouth, more and more spilling out. She fell backward. In the ensuing chaos, David seized the opportunity to rescue Mary. He spotted Willow's car in the distance, with me inside. "George." David lost his mind. He saw what had happened and rushed over to save me. Willow didn't give him the chance. She shouted to the driver, "Turn around." The car sped away, leaving David far behind. Chapter 16. David must have called the police. As the car sped down the highway, we could hear the police sirens blaring far behind us. The driver's face changed instantly. Willow, however, smiled chillingly. She kissed the corner of my mouth and said, "It's okay, just lose them." The driver bit his lip, reluctant but compelled to speak. "Miss Yen, this isn't North City. If you cause trouble here, there's no one to protect you." Willow acted like she hadn't heard. Hugging me tightly, she whispered in my ear, "I'm not like Anna. You see, when she heard David didn't love her anymore, she was crushed and gave up immediately. I'm different. You might not love me now, but one day you will. And even if you don't, you'll die with me. She kissed me. You promised to stay with me forever. Remember? The car was silent for a long time. I said, Willow, I did promise to stay with you forever, but I want to ask you, are you planning to marry me? If not, how are we supposed to be together forever? Willow's body stiffened slightly. It was a happy time, a very brief one, so short that she and I had almost forgotten it. At that time, I hadn't realized I was just a stand-in, foolishly giving all my love to Willow. Willow, what kind of diamond do you want for the proposal? My friend bought a pink diamond for his proposal, but his girlfriend wasn't too happy. What would you like me to use? Willow, I think daughters are great. They're their dad's little comfort. Let's have a daughter in the future. Okay. I held her waist, pressing a kiss to her forehead. She said, anything is fine. I'll listen to you. There were no more times that pure. In the car, I used the last of my strength to kiss Willow. How about this? Give up everything. Marry me. And I'll keep my promise. Stay with you forever. Chapter 17. David found me sitting next to a small park full of clover. Lost in thought, he rushed over and pulled me up. Looking me over, he said, Man, you scared me to death. Without you, how could I survive in this world? I rolled my eyes and pushed him away. Get lost. Don't think I didn't hear you say you thought about abandoning your brother for Anna. You're such a traitor. David looked exasperated. I told him what had happened. He widened his eyes in disbelief. So Willow just let you go? I said. Yeah. Isn't she a psycho? I thought she'd die with you rather than let you go. I smiled, the wind blowing past my face, leaving my heart hollow. I understand Willow. Even if she's willing to die with me, she would never marry me. No one understood Willow's ambitions better than I did. Willow was the illegitimate daughter of the Liu family. To be more precise, her mother used to be her father's secretary, and Willow was the result of a rape. But no one believed that. Everyone cursed Willow's mother, calling her a flirtatious secretary who seduced her boss, trying to use pregnancy to climb up the social ladder. Amid endless disdain, Willow's mother died young. Willow was only about 7 or 8 at the time. Her life after that was even more tumultuous. Eventually, she was rescued, and she knelt at her mother's grave and swore that her life's goal was to climb as high as she could, no matter what it took, to step on all men. Now, Willow was the only Liu descendant left, and with her means, many wealthy young heirs were willing to marry her. I was just reminding her, after causing all this chaos for me, all the suffering and grievances of the past, the tears and hardships, was she ready to throw them all away? She didn't let me go. She let herself go. I whispered to David. Chapter 18. In the following 2 years, I never saw Willow again. It was as if she had completely disappeared from my life, leaving no trace behind. David and I spent our days laughing, indulging in a hedonistic lifestyle. Occasionally, I would ask him, the things you said to Anna back then, were they true, or just to save Mary? David never seemed to hear, immediately grabbing the hand of the nearest young model and saying, this palm line is great, wealthy. I didn't press him further, just smiled and let it go. A long time passed, and finally, I met Willow again. I was out walking in a park with David, feeling the breeze, when I suddenly saw a red motorcycle parked by the roadside. I looked up and saw Willow. She was wearing a tight outfit, still as stunning as ever. She walked over and said, what a coincidence. She wasn't here to find me, it was just by chance. I'd heard that the son of a deputy governor in South City had once seen Willow and fallen head over heels, pursuing her madly. For her, it was a good opportunity. I asked her, here to meet your boyfriend? She nodded. Yeah, why not go then? Had something on my mind I couldn't figure out, so I sat here for a bit. I took out a cigarette and lit it, but she instinctively took it from my mouth, then awkwardly handed it back. We were silent for a while. Willow said lightly, long time no see. Want to talk for a bit? David glanced at me. I nodded. Only then did David leave on his own. I'll wait for you at the shop. Willow and I walked for a while. We passed by an ice cream stand, with a huge cone topped with several scoops. If it had been the old Willow, she would definitely have pestered me to buy one to share. This time, she said nothing, buying ice cream for herself. When she returned, she had 2. She smiled and handed one to me. I hesitated for a moment and said, thanks, but my wife and kid don't let me eat sweets. Maybe it was just my imagination, but her hand seemed to tremble slightly, but almost immediately, she smiled as if nothing had happened. I see. Holding the 2 melting cones, she said quietly, I'll go meet my boyfriend then. A little boy ran over, his eyes fixed eagerly on the ice cream in Willow's hand. I said, give it to the kid. I can't eat it anyway. Willow paused for a moment and said, all right. She handed the ice cream to the boy. The boy said sweetly, thank you, big sister. He ran off with the ice cream. The The setting sun gilded the distant lawn with a color that seemed it would never fade. I heard Willow say, "Goodbye." I also said, "Goodbye." She put on her helmet, got on her motorcycle, and disappeared into the setting sun. David appeared by my side at some point. "Why did you lie to her?" "I wasn't married, and I didn't have a kid." I sighed. "She's here for an arranged meeting. This marriage is very important for her. This opportunity is crucial, so it's best if she completely forgets about me." David patted my shoulder and asked, "Does it hurt, bro?" "No. Do you really not love Willow anymore? Anna has late-stage stomach cancer and wants to see you. Are you really not considering it? Let's go. Let's get a drink. Let's go." Chapter 19, Willow. Willow sometimes felt that George understood her very well. Other times, she felt that he didn't understand her enough. But this lack of understanding was intentional on Willow's part. After all, George was just a lover, and it wouldn't be good if he knew too much. For example, George didn't know that after her mother's death, Willow had been tricked into a seedy underworld establishment. From there, to becoming Lou's heir, she was helped by an older sister. That older sister had also walked a path similar to hers, but by the time she was 20, she had already been with several high-ranking officials and became one of the most well-known figures in North City social circles. With her help, Willow met more powerful and wealthy people, became their mistress, and further used them to form her own power. She became their white glove, and through this, she slowly eliminated all her siblings, becoming the sole candidate for the Lou family. Willow thought the older sister would enjoy the thrill of toying with men together with her, but the older sister didn't. She seemed to suddenly have a change of heart when she turned 36. She said she was pregnant, and she had a man who loved her deeply, so she wanted to leave that world of power and wealth, to sever ties with those people. If it were the present Willow, she would have tried to convince the older sister that once you set foot on this path, you must keep walking. Knowing too much and wanting to leave only led to death. But back then, she didn't understand that. After the older sister left, those afraid of her leaking information came to find her. They kidnapped her child and husband, asking her to redeem them. By the time Willow found the older sister, she was lying on the roadside, not a single bone in her body left intact. She still had a sliver of life left in her, and when she saw Willow, her first words were, "Are they okay?" Willow knew she was asking about her husband and child. She paused, then said, "They're okay." Only then did the older sister relax. She looked at the young woman she had taught herself and gave her final advice. "Little sister, remember my words. If you want to climb higher, you can't have any weaknesses. For a woman like us, giving her heart to a man, to others, that's called true love. But for us, it's a death sentence. Don't tell your brother-in-law that I'm dead. Just say that I ran off with another man, left him some money, and told him not to come looking for me." Willow nodded in agreement, and only then did the older sister die in peace. Willow stood silently by her body for a long time. She had lied to the older sister. Those people hadn't left any survivors. The older sister's husband and child were dead too, their bodies lying just a few meters away, and Willow had just used her body to shield them from her view. Willow arranged their funerals and then took revenge for them. For nearly a decade afterward, Willow kept the older sister's words in her heart. She used countless men as stepping stones, climbing higher than the older sister ever had. She couldn't afford to have any weaknesses. The rumors said that the boy who once listened to her play the piano was her unforgettable first love. Willow always found that laughable. How ridiculous. She was someone who dared to eliminate her own siblings. A little boy who listened to her play twice, how important could he be? But she let the rumors spread. After all, wasn't having a fake weakness better than having none at all? Besides, Willow felt that as long as the world thought she loved that so-called first love, George would be safer. George was the man who had stayed with Willow the longest. Willow remembered the older sister's words, never fall in love with a man, no matter what. Willow never expected to fall. For 3 years, she deceived herself, never addressing the question until George asked her when she was at her most vulnerable, "Do you love me?" Willow almost blurted out that she did, but she caught herself, feeling a deep fear. The older sister's shattered bones, the bodies of her husband and child, those images haunted her like a nightmare. Willow stood up. She couldn't face the question and had to flee. She knew George was in pain behind her, and so, her heart ached too. Willow felt she was finished. She knew she needed to distance herself, to forget, until she was sure she could remain detached. She couldn't see George again. She left the villa for 3 days, and to distract herself, she met with Makoto. She grew tired of reminiscing with Makoto. The only thing she found interesting was his relationship with Anna. Hearing that Anna was willing to abandon her husband for this man, she thought she might be able to control the Lin family indirectly through Makoto. Just as Willow thought her heart still lay in the world of power and schemes, George died. Willow raced on her motorcycle to the river, almost driving straight into it with the bike. The Liu family elders were furious. because Willow had almost thrown her life away for some insignificant person, destroying her chances of marriage with any wealthy family who would want to marry her after such a reckless act. Willow nearly ruined all the plans she had worked on for years, but she didn't care. Sitting by the river, she had only one thought in her mind. George isn't dead. He can't be. She had no proof, but she felt it, as long as her heart was still beating. The one she loved must be somewhere in the world. And so, while Anna had given in to despair and ruined herself with stomach cancer, Willow never gave up searching. When her people weren't enough, she barged into Anna's home. "Lend me your people," Anna asked. "Why should I?" Willow said. "I don't care if you lend them or not." She turned to leave. Anna sighed in resignation and called her back. "Take whoever you need." Finally, Willow found George, but George told her to give up everything and marry him. Willow used to wonder why so many girls foolishly wanted to get married. She hated the idea of being tied down by marriage, but now, on her way back, she was filled with an unfamiliar happiness. Willow suddenly thought of the older sister, but this time, she didn't think of the older sister's shattered bones. Instead, she remembered the smile on her face as she died. She hadn't regretted her choice. Willow returned to North City. She had to be 1,000 times more thorough than the older sister had been. She herself didn't matter, but she couldn't risk implicating George. She worked meticulously, cutting ties to her identity, moving her assets, securing protection. She had to make sure that after she escaped, no one would be able to hurt George. It took her 2 years. 2 years later, Willow was finally ready to leave. She didn't need anything from North City anymore. She was no longer Willow. She could be anyone, as long as she could be with George. But George hadn't waited for her. He had gotten married and had a child. Willow mustered up the courage to ask him what his wife was like, whether he was happy. She had so many questions, but in the end, she asked none of them. Willow left. The Liu family people urged her to hurry, saying the young master in South City was eager to see her. For a moment, Willow thought, this could work. She could go on a blind date, marry a man who loved her even if she didn't love him as much, settle down. But in that last moment, Willow thought of Anna. If she went down this path, she'd be no different from Anna. Suddenly, Willow turned her motorcycle around. The setting sun was behind her now. The evening breeze left in her wake. She was no longer a young girl, and she didn't know if she could still catch up with the boy she loved, but she headed in his direction, without looking back. Chapter 20, The Little Boy. The little boy held the ice cream, hopping and skipping over to a little girl. "A really handsome big brother and a really pretty big sister gave this to me," the boy said proudly. "Here, it's for you." The little girl took it. "Why are you giving it to me?" the boy said. "Don't ask so many questions. Just eat it." The little girl smiled sweetly. She took a bite of the ice cream and suddenly exclaimed, "Oh!" The ice cream had melted. A bracelet fell out of the cone. A 4-leaf clover bracelet hung from the boy's hand. A large, sparkling pink diamond ring dangled from the bracelet in the girl's hand. They turned to look back together. The sun had already set. On the boundless field of clover, a single 4-leaf clover was growing strong and proud.